You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you here 2 hours on a Wednesday as we are a week away, right about this time, Matt, from free agency officially opening.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the negotiation.
Much less then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
There'll be a lot of things happening this time a week from now.
There certainly will,
Yeah.
and a lot of those will come down the line Monday, Tuesday, and then become official at 4 o'clock on Wednesday.
But every day we get something good leading up to it. It's great.
Every day.
I love this time of year.
I do too. It's between now and the draft is an interesting time of the year. There's always something happening. And we are certainly far from the NFL slowing down, which they do a little bit in May and June, slightly, but certainly not this time of year. And Matt, news of the day here is we've got plenty of big things to get to. There's a pretty significant trade that we have to discuss. But first, according to Adam Schefter, the Steelers, and a move that we all thought was, going to happen, almost inevitable.
Yeah.
Sounds like it is pretty close to being official here. The Pittsburgh Steelers will release veteran tight end Jonnu Smith ahead of the new league year via Adam Schefter.
Yeah. You can see it's coming from a mile away because they saved like $8 or $9 million, something like that.
$7 million, I think,
okay.
Yes.
So that's another, after releasing Calvin Anderson, that's another 9 they created. I still think Malik Harrison could be another shoe to drop. Anyone that knows the Steelers knows that they usually don't make moves until they have to. So maybe they were hanging on to Jonnu, like maybe get a 6th-round pick out of him or something. You know what I mean?
It was similar to Cordell Patterson last year.
Yeah. Like we don't need the money right this minute. As for Smith, I really liked him being included in the Ramsey-Minka deal.
Same.
I'm like, not just because him and Arthur Smith were buddies and had a lot of success together. I'm like, that's a weapon. I mean, that's a movable chess piece in the passing game. 90
receptions, 9 touchdowns, 900 yards in 2024.
Right, and a lot of them were shorter stuff, and that like Tyreek got hurt, and they kind of got that kind of production by default for Miami. But he's always been a good player. He's always been a movable chess piece. And frankly, I thought he was really bad here. And I don't think it's because he got used drastically different, but you knew he's not going to block anybody, which is fine. You knew that coming in. I mean, as a receiver, though, you'd think he'd be a good blocker. He had a hard time like blocking safeties, and let alone linebackers or DNs. He really had a tough time separating. I mean, his route stuff, he did not get open regularly. He was always good after the catch, produced very little after the catch here, and just really didn't create any kind of mismatch advantages. And I don't think the Steelers used him wrong. Looking back, and there's some Monday morning quarterback here, and I was, frankly, hard on them, especially in the second half of the year, that he was getting anything close to equal snaps to Freiermuth or Washington, because I think he quickly turned into those players that, hey, I'm happy you put him out there.
Happy that guy's on the field.
Yeah, you're doing me a favor putting him out there. Hopefully, for his sake, he just was fighting a hamstring or there's something bugging him, and he can get a rejuvenation on life at a new place, because he will get another opportunity. But they must thought the same thing, because they gave him a pretty nice contract the day they traded for him. And I thought,
and none of us batted an eye about it at the time.
I never thought anything different about it. They're going to live in 12 and 13 personnel and have 3 really different tight ends. I like this strategy. He just didn't live up to it at all. And now with a totally different scheme change, you don't need 3. It's already going to be hard to feed Freiermuth and Washington, in my opinion. I'm not sure how they'll divvy up snaps, but I'm glad he's not taking anything away from those guys. And, of course, I'd much rather have the money.
I think there were, on each side of the football, if we can do, the hindsight 2020 thing, go back to July when we all reported to Latrobe.
And this is a word of warning for next week. Everyone you add is not going to hit, folks. I got that problem solved. Check. Never have to worry about it again in my life. That's not how it works, dude.
No, it does not.
Yes.
The best laid plans of mice and men, right?
You're right.
When we all got to Latrobe in late July, I think we certainly looked at the tight end room and we said, oh, that's going to be a matchup nightmare for opposition defenses.
Yeah.
The Bengals have Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. That's their matchup problem. The Ravens, they can hit you with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. That's their matchup problem.
Right, yeah.
This is going to be the Steelers, those 3 tight ends, their skill set, what they can do in Arthur Smith's offense. And that was not the case. I think the other thing was just how the secondary shook out, completely different than how we all expected.
I said the Slay situation.
The Slay situation and the safety situation and what they did with Ramsey.
Right.
And how big of a role people like Eccles and Pierre ended up playing.
Yeah.
So
and that opened an opportunity for Pierre. He stepped up and played really well.
I think it was better in the secondary.
Well, especially the second half of the season when Ramsey went to safety and they figured where everybody should be.
And Joey Porter Jr. really started to settle in and become.
And you had to get Slay out of the lineup, who I think, not kicking dirt on these dudes that left, but I think Slay's career's over.
Yeah.
And he's kind of made that clear, and he wasn't super excited about tackling, things like that too.
Those were the two things in hindsight that I think we all thought at the end of July, okay, the secondary is going to look and operate like this.
Yep.
The tight end room is going to look and operate like that. And it certainly was not the case. I mean, Matt, 2023 with the Falcons, Jonnu Smith, 50 receptions, 582 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That's a really good year.
And then he follows it up with the best year of his career, Pro Bowl year, 88, 884 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
To last year in Pittsburgh, just 38 receptions, 222 for 2 touchdowns. I think in late July, if I would have said to you, Matt, over under 250 yards for Jonnu Smith,
right.
You would have been like, dude, are you kidding me? That number should be closer to
35 catches to only translate to under 300 yards, too. Like I said, there's nothing after the catch. The movement stuff's just not there.
All throughout his career, the 1 year in New England, other than his rookie season, the 1 year in New England in 22, he averaged 9.1 yards per reception. Every other year, double digits, 10,
really?
11.6, 10.5, 10.9, 12.5, 12.9 yards per reception.
Like
just
7 or something.
5.8 here. That's even lower than his rookie year with the Titans.
Yeah.
So only 2 touchdowns. It was very underwhelming for a lot of different reasons. And so I think this one this made a lot of sense, and you wish him well and you hope for his case. It was, like you mentioned, a health thing and he can kind of figure it out, but I think it's time to put that experiment to rest.
No, it was an easy decision, especially after the coaching change when you're not going to be so tight end centric. Then it became as easy a decision as could be. I mean, based off last year's tape and how you plan to use that position going forward, there's just no room for him at all.
Yeah, I agree. So that's
I don't think he needs replaced.
So,
I don't think that's
the nice part about
even
it.
Open a hole. Yeah,
$7 million cap relief that you don't have to feel like you need to go out and fill that void. Matt, the big news of the day, a pretty big trade involving a name that we've discussed plenty, DJ Moore. There's been a lot of conversation on this show around football circles in general that Chicago's up against the cap. They've got a nice stable of young, talented wide receivers, especially with the way that Luther Burden came on down the stretch.
Yeah.
Could DJ Moore be a trade candidate? Could he even end up being cut? Well, today he was traded to the Buffalo Bills, a very wide receiver needy team, certainly. The Buffalo Bills get DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick. The Chicago Bears get a 2nd-round pick from Buffalo.
And I think that's about the correct compensation. I was doing a podcast earlier that didn't end up having to record, but anyways, we were waiting. I'm waiting, like, I want to see what the compensation is before we, comment on it, because Schefter reported for about 15, 20 minutes before, he's going to be a Bill, we just don't know what the deal is yet. And they're like, I'd like to really know what the deal is.
Before we start doing a show here, I'd like to know the parameters.
And I thought it might be at least a 4th, maybe a 3rd. So I guess I was pretty close. I mean, a late 2nd is what they get back, which is a nice pick, don't get me wrong, but they had to throw in a 5th to make it work. I assume the Bills are eating the majority of his contract. He's got a big deal, and the Bears are up against it. Not that the Bills are flush with cap space either, but the Bills are up against it. There was a lot of rumors that he'd be involved in a Max Crosby deal.
Yeah.
So him moving doesn't surprise me at all. So a couple notes on this. So when Ben Johnson took over like a year ago, as you mentioned, they quickly took Burden, even though they didn't need to, and they took Odunze the year before. And I think a lot of that is if you watch DJ Moore's tape 2 years ago, he did not give maximum effort on every route at all. I mean, he seemed very disinterested. And this year was better, but the team was better, and
Sure.
it was a frustrating team to be on 2 years ago, without question. They got fired. Caleb's taking sacks left and right. The line's bad, but there was a lot of effort things that,
don't love to see that.
No, and he's a catch and run guy. That's why I bring up Burden, because the second they drafted Burden, I'm like, Moore's not going to be here long. I mean, it's going to be a year.
Because Burden's a catch-and-run guy,
too. He's a catch-and-run guy, too. He's
Younger and cheaper.
Cheaper, more explosive at this stage of his game. But for the Bills, great. I mean, I still think he's got something in the tank. We've talked a lot about all these receivers that could be on the move, the veteran big-name guys. I mean, like guys you've had on your fantasy team.
A.J. Brown.
Yeah. Most are declining. You know, it just is a matter of how much are they declining and how rapidly are they declining.
Sure.
They've probably hit their peak when I say they're declining. I mean, that doesn't mean that
they might
don't
plateau,
have,
but they're not getting better.
Be highly useful still. Like Brian Thomas isn't, but like A.J. Brown, I don't know what to think of Ayuk, Pittman. You know, a lot of these guys I like a lot probably have had their best year in the league. It's a not-for-long league. We just talked about Jonnu, you know. But still, the Bills would have killed for DJ Moore last year. And brings me to the Steelers, though, because I've gotten a million tweets. Well,
would you have done this?
Yeah, well, why didn't the Steelers offer the same thing? They have a better pick. He wasn't my flavor. You know what I mean? I would have understood it. I think the Steelers would have killed for him last year. I mean,
sure.
Him and Metcalf would have been a formidable pair
sure.
last year and this upcoming season. And I'm not saying they can absolutely do better, but he had some warts I didn't love at this stage of his career with some effort and some inconsistencies.
There was even some of that in that divisional round game against the Rams.
Perfect example.
That they lost in overtime.
I knew there was something recently, and I couldn't remember.
That interception that Caleb Williams threw, he rightfully took some criticism because it didn't look like he was giving maximum effort on that play.
So good for the Bills. They needed him. My next thought, and this might be Steeler related, is I think this opens the door for Crosby to end up in Chicago.
They got an extra second-round pick now.
An extra second-round pick. They got more cap space. Okay, now we can maybe finalize that deal. But I wonder, the Steelers did hire the Bills' wide receiver coach. I'd be interested in Keon Coleman. I mean, Keon Coleman went at the very, very beginning of the second round. They traded from like pick 31 or 30 to 33 or something like that, and got Coleman. And he's been disappointing.
That was 11 months ago.
That was no time ago. And if I can get him for like a fifth-round pick now, right. Yeah. I mean, sign me up. That'd be one of my three. You know what I mean? Like, you got nothing invested in him. That's better than the talent you're getting in the fifth round now, a year later.
I can't imagine he's too gung-ho to stay there in Buffalo after the way that they talked about him this offseason, too.
Right.
They're throwing somebody under the bus, and then there's whatever they did to Keon Coleman, which was maybe throwing him under a locomotive train or a Mack truck or something like that.
From the owner.
Yeah.
Not from a position coach that left or a coordinator or former players. Like, the owner ain't going anywhere.
All the people who aren't going anywhere, he's the least likely one to move.
That's the last guy I want on my bad side, if I'm going to stick around.
According to Schefter, Buffalo will be guaranteeing $15.5 million of DJ Moore's base salary.
Okay, so they split it a little bit, yeah.
So his 2026 salary is fully guaranteed. His 2027 salary will become fully guaranteed next week. So he gets a little bit. So he gets a little bit of a more financial incentive there.
Yeah.
Some more guaranteed money on his deal.
So he's going to be a Bill this year and next year, is what it sounds like. If they cut him, it makes no sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they've been looking for a receiver forever.
Man,
and they're trying to win it. Yeah.
And speaking of which, Matt, another, I think, notable piece of news today, and speaking of wide receivers, the Patriots set to release Stephon Diggs after just one season in New England.
Yeah, I thought he was good for them, but his usage has changed. He's really become a chain mover, technician. People don't understand how good he is technically with setting up routes, and he'll fade away slow, and he showed that this year. But he's a short to intermediate route runner now. He's not an explosive downfield threat. And I do think it's telling that while I thought he was their best receiver, they played 4 or 5 guys almost all equal snaps. I mean, over the course of the game, he may be a 50% route runner or, things like that.
Sure.
And he's expensive. He was 20-some million for his age. And he's
got some legal stuff going on.
He's got some legal stuff, which is probably the root of it all.
I think that might be
pretty telling.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a little bit.
I'm sure the team knows more details about it than we do.
That is, you know what they say happens when you assume, Matt. But I think that's a very safe assumption.
So is there a suspension on the way for his new team? I could see him lingering out there for a while.
Agreed. Just a couple more notable moving and shaking today. The Houston Texans re-signing Trent Brown.
Yeah.
1 year.
With all the O-line shakeups, at least they've stabilized
1 year
one dude.
extension worth up to $7 million.
It's not a bad rate.
I certainly think you can do worse.
Yeah. But they can't let everybody walk out the door.
Exactly right. And then Vikings expected to release Jonathan Allen.
Along with Hargrave.
They've
Right.
got some significant changes coming to that organization.
They hit both those guys hard in free
Harrison
agency
Smith
last
could
year.
be on the way out.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
They're just really up against it. And frankly, that's when GMs get fired in February, like he did. Like we invested heavy in a couple trade ups, Dallas Turner and especially JJ McCarthy, a lot of big contracts, and we're getting worse and worse and worse. And our contract situation is a disaster.
It's tough sledding for some of these organizations that are up against it. And
one other note that it very well could affect the Vikings is I didn't realize this when we got together yesterday, but whoever signs Kyler Murray, and this makes him more attractive to me, but still I don't think that's the Steelers' route, nor would it be one that I love. It's going to be like the Russell Wilson $1 million deal. Because
he's getting such a fat check from Arizona still.
So whoever signs him, they don't even have to have cap space, basically. You're going to sign that same deal the Steelers did with Russell Wilson as opposed to giving him $35-40 million, at least for a year. And because Arizona's picking up the tab. That makes him a lot more appealing to anybody. But like the Vikings, he's been linked to the Vikings a lot. Wouldn't be hard to get him under the cap now.
Makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. I guess last kind of notable here, too, sounds like Cam Jordan is going to become a free agent after 15 years with New Orleans, according to Schefter. New Orleans will not have a new deal in place for him. He will now hit free agency and decide if he wants to play a 16th NFL season.
That kind of makes me sad. It's kind of like the Cam Hayward,
it's the end,
legend.
It's the end of that era, really starting to come to a close.
Like, I think Hayward had a better career than Cam Jordan, but they're easy, both like Ring of Honor type guys or team Hall of Famers.
Without a doubt.
So many jerseys sold,
franchise legends.
That kind of wish he would just. When you said Cam Jordan, I'm like, I hope he just said he's going to retire.
Same.
Maybe he will.
Maybe he will. It's true. Maybe the market won't be. Maybe he'll think about it another week or two and be like, I don't want to go play one more year somewhere other than, I want to do the one helmet thing.
Do the one helmet thing.
And be a 15-year, Ring of Honor legend for New Orleans.
Yeah.
We will.
But I would also understand if he's like, well, Chiefs want to give me a league minimum and I might win a Super Bowl this year.
Certainly.
Like, okay.
Certainly.
I don't even play 15 snaps a game.
I will, though, always remember back in 2018, Cam Jordan besmirching Ben Roethlisberger. Do you remember all that? All that hoopla.
There was something
leading up to that game. That was that crazy game with the terrible pass interference on Joe Hayden.
Was that the one that Antonio Brown was a madman?
Maybe the best game I've ever seen a wide receiver play.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster had the fumble at the end of the game that cost the Steelers the game. And then they were 7-2-1, I think, going into that game, and then things kind of went downhill from there for a lot of different reasons. But leading up to that game, Cam Jordan was asked about, and just media scrum in the locker room was like, going against a future Hall of Fame quarterback and Ben Roethlisberger. And he was like, what? He was like, Ben Roethlisberger, Hall of Fame? He's like, I don't think so. Cam, I got some bad news.
You might have misjudged that one.
I got some bad news for you, brother. I think you're going to be sorely disappointed here.
About a year from now,
About a year from now. I think that one, your hindsight's going to be not so great on that one. But we won't hold it against him too much as I'm bringing up something that happened 8 years ago.
Really likable player and really good career.
Yes, other than those foolish comments that he made about future Hall of Famer Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger about 8 years ago. Not that I hold grudges or anything. That's our news of the day. When we return, I kind of want to piggyback off of, big trade today in the NFL and some other potential. You sent me a really good.
I thought that was really well done.
You sent me a really good article from, I think it was The Athletic, I want to say.
Yeah, Deontay Lee wrote it. Like, he's also not a household name, but if I would have seen Deontay Lee walking around Indy, he'd have been sitting down.
Okay.
He's one of my
He's
faves.
the ringer, pardon me.
Yes.
And basically, the players left after DJ Moore that are going to kind of shape this trade market over the upcoming weeks here.
Some will get cut, some won't get traded, but they're the names to know that should be on the move.
And we will discuss those when we return. Just getting started here on The Drive on this Thursday. Uhler, Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Trade market is rolling along. Free agency staring us right down the barrel. So, Matt, the names that will define the next month or so in the National Football League. This is a good article that you sent me, as you mentioned, by, is it
Deontay Lee, yeah.
Deontay Lee. And just different players at different positions, whether they're traded, whether they're cut, how that affects the trade market and everything that's going to happen in free agency.
These are all names you guys will know that could be on the move. You know?
And let's start with the quarterbacks here, as they're kind of always at the top of the list. Mac Jones.
Again, I host a podcast with a Niners fella, and it's kind of a running joke at this point. How can I get Mac Jones on the Steelers? You know, like, I think he probably will go. They've come out and said that they want a first or second round pick for him. I think that's really rich.
Yeah.
I think you could pry him away for a 3 and a 5. I think he's a really good player. He's not for me for the Steelers, but I don't see a great landing spot for him. Other than, frankly, if you look at his career, the end of Belichick year or two, when they had a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, things got pretty crazy in New England at the end of the Belichick.
Yes.
He had no chance to succeed. But other than that, everywhere he's gone, he's done good things. Like, I think he's one of the best 32 walking the planet.
Yes, I would agree.
If he moved better, I would consider it for the Steelers. Like, that's my thing, is like, I just think his ceiling is limited because he's not a playmaker.
Anthony Richardson, Indianapolis Colts. We've talked about him a little bit.
I think he definitely goes.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I think that ship sailed. And if I'm the Rams or the Chiefs or the Bills.
Packers.
Yeah. I mean, Willis leaves, put him right there. He could be
Ravens.
Ravens, right. I think there's so many landing spots for him that you could get him cheap. I don't know that his style of play works here great, nor is there room for him, you know, assuming Rodgers comes back.
I mean, you've got Will Howard, yeah.
In more often cases than not, I would be like, take a chance on the unbelievably talented
athlete with a big arm.
Yeah, right. I mean, we could be talking about him like we're talking about Willis in a year from now or something.
Another name we've mentioned a few times in the past couple months, Tanner McKee, the Eagles backup.
Your Eagles guys probably love him.
They love him.
Everybody loves the guy, yeah.
Last year when Hurts missed that game last year and they started Kenny Pickett. All my Eagles guys were like, why aren't we starting Tanner McKee? Why is Kenny Pickett the guy? McKee's so much better. I'm not at practices. I don't know.
Right.
But I know in Philadelphia circles, they think very highly of him.
And what also hurts him is he's just a pocket passer, too. I mean, by today's NFL, he's pretty stiff, tall, linear, drop back guy. But a lot of Eagles folks, they're not saying he's better than Hurts, but they'd rather try it with McKee, who plays the game totally different than Hurts, and feed Brown and Smith and Goddard as opposed to run the ball as much and get a pick for Hurts and dump him off your cap.
Yeah.
You know, let's just see what this looks like with all those resources. Keep A.J. Brown, you know what I mean? And there's a case for that, at least.
A name that I think you and I talked about just a week or two ago, Derek Carr.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen.
I think so, too.
When he retired, he was very vague about it. And I know no one cares about, like, my fantasy team, but in a Superflex league where you play quarterbacks are gold, I had Carr, and I just never cut him all year. I'm like, he's going to be back next year.
Yeah.
And he's going to probably start for somebody. He's not a superstar, but we weren't talking about Rodgers for the Steelers at this point last year either. If everything falls through, I know it's not super inspiring, but you could get him for a 5th-round pick and see what happens and work on Will Howard.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, he's an NFL player. I mean, he's a good starter.
Him or Mac Jones?
I think Carr.
Okay. Compensation's less.
Well, yeah, for what you have to pay Carr. Who makes you win better today?
Probably Mac Jones.
Probably Mac Jones. And definitely for the future, Mac Jones. But I don't want to be married to Mac Jones.
And if you trade a 3rd-round pick for him,
it's at least a year or two.
It's at least a year or two.
I mean,
and
unless
that's
it's a disastrous season and you're picking 5th and you just draft sellers.
Hey, I'd sign up for that.
That's not so bad either, right?
Most tradable non-quarterbacks. Number 1 on the list, A.J. Brown, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles.
Do you think he gets moved? I kind of lean towards yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been so much smoke for so long.
And it just feels like it's reached the boiling point.
Yeah.
Like there was this same smoke last year, but they were coming off winning a Super Bowl.
Just won the Super Bowl,
like,
right?
Yeah,
we're not trading.
We're not trading A.J. Brown.
Right.
We just won the Super Bowl. We're going to run it back. I think now, though, and they need some they need some cap considerations because they've got some big, chunky, cap, some bills that are coming due for some contracts that they've kicked down the road for a while. They could certainly use the draft capital because they're going to need to replace a lot of pieces in the trenches in the coming years.
And even like Saquon's probably not long for the league at his prices. And, the Eagles had a great window, but they better start keeping more than just the corner of their eye on the future, too. It can't just be win now for them.
Not surprisingly, number 2 on this list, Max Crosby.
I think he gets traded in the next 48 hours. I still think the Bears, this move to me implies the Bears are setting themselves up for that.
I think by the time you and I go on air, maybe even tomorrow, but by the time we go on air Monday,
I bet he's moved.
I'd be surprised if Max Crosby was a Raider on Monday.
Me too. And think about the draft capital the Raiders are going to have, And the Raiders could look a lot different a week from now after they go get 4 or 5, the top free agents.
Mm-hmm.
Linderbaum, Siamalu, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, the O-line's done. Put Mendoza in there, and, right. It's not so bad.
I think that would be smart. Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts.
I think I've said this before, but Pittman and Ayuk are the 2 I'm most interested for the Steelers. Ayuk's not going to get traded. He's going to get cut any minute now. I think Pittman will get cut, but only when they know Pierce is locked up. So there's been some reports that they didn't franchise Pierce, but they are deep in talks still.
Yes.
I don't know how true. I mean, you have to half believe those things, but I don't think they can keep both easily. But Pittman would be kind of exactly what the Steelers ordered. He's not a monster, huge contract. He's still really good. Certainly doesn't prohibit you from using a first or second round pick at the receiver position, and you could be really good there. Ayuk's a bit more of a wild card, but
Cole Kmet, tight end, Chicago Bears. I mean, this one makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Loveland's a star.
Loveland is a beast.
Yeah.
They would save about $11 million in cap space. Yeah. I mean, they've got,
and he's good. Somebody pick him up immediately.
They've got a Dunze and Luther Burden and Loveland. They've got weapons on that offense.
And even with the Moore trade, they're still pretty tight against cap. Have a lot of defensive needs.
And maybe this is, if they do end up dealing for Crosby, and this is their way to still kind of make the cap work and pick up some more draft capital that they're going to have.
Yeah.
If you could trade Kmet and DJ Moore for all intents and purposes for the draft capital for Max Crosby. And some cap relief. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Right. I mean, if you're close to that million a wash, do it.
Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk's time is up in San Francisco.
What's he say about him?
He says Ayuk's time is up in San Francisco. It feels like the most logical move is a reunion with his college roommate Jaden Daniels in Washington.
That would make a lot of sense.
The Commanders need a receiver like Ayuk on the perimeter to open up defenses for Daniels. But
I would have tons of interest.
I would too.
And obviously, the organization here has had a obvious interest in Ayuk. Maybe that's Tomlin and staff driven. Maybe that's Omar and Andy driven. Maybe it's everybody likes him. 2 years ago, he was a top 3 or 4 receiver in the league. And he really didn't do anything to make you think he's a lot worse of a player.
Sure.
But the injury was a long time ago.
Yeah.
His behavior's bizarre. I mean, nobody just walks away from guaranteed money. He basically is I'm not interested.
20-some million in guaranteed money.
Nah, I'm good. I mean, so you got to get the
believing
bottom
in
of
yourself, and then there's doing that.
But you're probably buying him on 30 cents on the dollar. You know what I mean? Whatever his contract is now, the day he gets cut, is not going to resemble the one that he signed. No. Not even close.
This is an interesting.
He might be better. He might be your best receiver in almost any room he walks into.
Absolutely. An interesting one for me on this list. Budda Baker, safety of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I love this player. I just wish he wasn't 30.
Yeah.
I looked at the name, too. I'm like, ooh, I bet you could get him.
If this was 2 years ago, we'd be like, yeah, sign me up.
I think he's one of the most underrated players of this generation.
Completely agree.
Won't ever get in the Hall of Fame, but probably should.
You think that good?
That good, yeah. As good as Minka, Derwin, all those dudes. Just no one ever paid any attention to him in the desert. Sure. They got drafted by the same team. They've asked him to do 4 million things. I don't think he'll get cut. They won't cut him. But you trade him to a contender or trade deadline type guy,
Tremaine Edmonds, another name that we've discussed from the Chicago Bears. Nearly $18 million cap hit, only 27 years old.
Yeah.
He's the B+ student making valedictorian money.
Yeah, and I think it's come out that they've said, Tremaine, feel free to seek a trade.
Seek a trade, yes.
Which 9 out of 10 times means we're going to cut you in a day or two. But
if we can't get a 6th-round pick for you,
great. And when he hits the open market, he'll be coveted. No, I mean, I don't think he'll get like as much as Devin Lloyd, but I think he'll go from $18 million a year to $11 or $12 million a year. And if the Steelers were to move on from Queen, I'd be like, call him.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Oh, he's
still good.
Still good. Got a ton of experience. Only 27.
Came in the league really crazy, Juju young.
Interesting name, Rashawn Gary, edge rusher of the Green Bay Packers.
They're also up against it, and the Parsons trade just makes the dollars really tight because they gave Gary a huge deal and then traded for Parsons. Not that Gary didn't deserve the deal. He was coming off a great season. They also drafted Van Ness in between there as an edge guy. He's a little different than those two. There's been talk that they might move on from like Jenkins, Gary, a couple of their bigger name dudes. Elgin Jenkins would really interest me. But I think Gary will be sought after. He's a B edge player, which like a Highsmith. I mean, which is great. That's a compliment.
Another one of those guys, same conversation, only 25 years old, Kayvon Thibodeau of the New York Giants.
Yeah, I thought he might get traded last year because they signed Burns, or they traded for Burns and then drafted Carter.
Yeah.
Which they didn't know that Carter was going to be clearly the best player on the board whenever they made the Thibodeau deal before that. They got one too many. He's good, not great. I still think his best football could be ahead of him, though. Maybe like after like a Max Crosby domino falls or Hendrickson signs, and then like the Lions make an offer for him or something like that. You know what I mean?
One or two more here. Ashawn Robinson, defensive tackle from Carolina.
He actually kind of interests me. He's just like
he's a
run
stuffing nose.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
1 year deal.
Not for the $12 million that he's set.
He's going to get cut or traded or whatever. I don't want to give him 12, but he's had a solid career. I say old man because I remember like on his draft day, he looked like he was 40 years old and a grown man come out of Bama. And he plays like it, and he will his whole life,
Last one, familiar name, formerly of this parish, Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be horrible.
And he can still play.
He can still play. I would think you could get a pick for him.
What's funny is I feel like he would be a perfect fit in Buffalo, but they're not going to trade him to a division. They're not going to. And Buffalo now giving up a 2nd-round pick is not going to have the capital to acquire him. But
other players,
I think he would fit really nicely on that defense.
There's no way they cut him.
No, I don't think because he's a resource. Yes. He's an asset.
And maybe it's when they're 1-6 at the trade deadline or whatever.
And even if you move him for a 3rd-round pick, like it's still something. But I would be shocked if he plays 17 games for the Dolphins next year.
So I should have known this, but I brought this up like a month ago. Like Steelers should be interested in Minkah too. Like we were talking about like Waddle and people that could be on the move from teams. Steelers are not allowed to trade for him. There's that weird wrinkle where
3 years, right? Is it 3 years?
It's either maybe it's 2, but you can't trade for a guy that you traded within X amount of days.
You're right.
And so the Steelers cannot trade for him. They could somehow acquire him, I don't know.
Free agency.
Right, but he's not going to have free agency. So it sounds great. I'd love to put him back at free safety, but they're not allowed to trade for him right now. That's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. But I also get it, though. But it is kind of.
It's almost like I'll trade you him, then you trade me back next week, and I'll trade him back to you next week.
It's almost like things that you have parameters in fantasy football leagues.
There could be shenanigans.
To make sure no one's in cahoots trying to help each other out too much.
The Harbaughs just trade people back and forth over and over. Right? Oh, you're going to the playoffs. Borrow Lamar
ahead,
for a month. Yeah. And give us back to them after the season. Yeah.
Let's just trade Linderbaum back and forth as needed.
Yeah, see when you need him.
We'll wrap up the first hour conversation here when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Continuing to get ready for free agency, the NFL draft, everything on the horizon in the coming days, weeks, and months here on The Drive. Closing down this first hour. Matt, Todd McShay, his final combine thoughts, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
Post-combine risers, post-combine fallers, and some big board thoughts. And some of this caught my eye because some of this in here is not surprising at all. Like some of his post-combine risers that we can get to here in a second. A lot of these names you and I discussed over the past week.
He put Sonny Styles on there. I'm like,
exactly.
It's a little too easy.
It's a little too easy to have Sonny Styles on there when he tests just like an absolute freak.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to everybody. Some of the people that he had as post-combine fallers, though, were interesting to me. So
I thought so, too.
Let's go through the list here. Sonny Styles was obviously his biggest riser. I mean, he's one of the best workouts, I think, that anybody's ever seen.
I'm going to consider putting him at 3 to the Cardinals.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't think he gets far out of the top 5 at worst.
So when
especially in this type of draft.
About 10 minutes from now, when we return for hour 2, we're going to go through that exercise of we're going to go through the top prospects and would you trade the 21st pick right now for this guy? Yeah. Sonny Styles is an easy yes.
Easy
right?
yes.
He's an easy.
Just because he's special, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 6'5", 245, the 40-yard dash time of 4.46, just unbelievable.
Today's NFL, too, is coverage skills and versatility.
His wingspan's
really important.
Wingspan's nearly 81 inches
wide.
Throwing
over him's a little different than most linebackers.
Yes. Number 2 on his risers list, a name that you have been on since probably the end of January when we really started having these conversations. Monroe Feeling, tackle out of Georgia.
Yeah, he's a pure left tackle, kind of the prototype, 6'7", moves really, really
6'7".
well. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you did it. I'm sorry. I'm conditioned by my daughters.
And really just got better and better and better on tape all year. And
just 18 career starts.
I've heard some Steelers
Georgia
fans
thing.
being like, well, it's the same as Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
There are some similarities to Broderick Jones.
What's crazy about him is basically the scouts, the real evaluators will tell you his highlight tape is as good as anything you'll see.
Some of it like combo blocks against the second level.
But his low light tape is really bad.
Yeah, because he's not that experienced. I mean, it's got the low light tape was adding less and less to it as the season went on,
which is good.
Yeah, so that's good progress.
And his final riser, I kind of feel proud of myself because I was talking about this guy before the combine. Eli Stowers, tight end out of Vanderbilt.
The testing's bonkers.
Yeah, I think
it really is.
Him and Trigg are clearly my guys right behind Sadiq. But man, his testing was out of control.
45-inch vertical for a tight end. I mean, I know he's a lighter guy, but still.
That is ridiculous. 4.51, second fastest amongst tight ends. He's got the physical traits. Everybody raves about his football IQ. I mean, Vanderbilt's one of those schools where academics still matter.
Oh yeah, in a big way. Yeah,
it's like a Stanford or some of those schools. Academics still do play a factor in the conversation. Yeah. But yeah, he just he's almost 6'4". He can move like crazy. Some teams even kind of see him in that slot receiver role.
I think that's what he is. I don't think you're going to line him up in line.
Like some Kelsey potential if everything hits for him, like those type of. What's going on with Kelsey, by the way? We still haven't heard anything on his future.
I guess we haven't.
In terms of retiring or coming back, or
I kind of hope he hangs it up. I mean, he's not the player he was.
No, and I could see him being like, I want to go out on a full year with Patrick Mahomes
this summer.
I think so.
I mean, I know they've been engaged. I mean, I'm sure he's got other things going on in his world.
I'm sure he
clearly,
has plenty going on.
Yeah.
Him and Jason were over doing a bunch of stuff with the Olympics and NBC. So, yeah, I mean, he's got options. He's got certainly a high-profile marriage. I think I'd be surprised if he comes back.
I would, too.
But if it ends up being...
But if Pat's like, let's do one more run,
And if it ends up being June and July and we still haven't heard anything and it's like, oh, he's going to report to training camp on a one... Yeah. I can see it.
It's terrible to say, but you wonder, not that he's making a fortune, but sometimes players at this level and their contract, but they're such legends, you almost hope they retired. Like, it's better for I'd rather have $20 million than Kelsey.
Sure,
you know what I mean? But I'm not telling them, we're not cutting you. There's no way that happens.
Post-combine fallers, number 1. I think maybe the most interesting case of anybody in this draft, Jermod McCoy, the cornerback out of Tennessee, who did not play at all in 2025 due to the ACL tear. And McShay says, not to sound drastic, but when's he going to work out? When's he going to compete? When are we going to see him do anything?
That's the thing. You expected that by now, after missing an entire season.
It's been 13 months since he had that ACL injury, so it's
a massive red flag. You thought you'd see him do something athletic in Indy, and he didn't.
And I know he's got the pro day, but man, what if it doesn't go well for him at the pro day?
Right. That's the thing too. It's his last shot.
Yeah.
And what if it doesn't? I mean, he runs a 4.6 or something.
So that one on his fallers didn't surprise me, just because the nature of the thing.
Yeah.
No one's seen him do anything since December of 2024. The other two names on his fallers list, though, were surprising to me. The first, Malachi Fields.
Yeah, he just didn't run great, but it didn't bother me that much. Like, his three-cone was decent. I don't think his jumps were particularly great, but he's not a super explosive player. I guess he was getting, like, late first-round buzz entering the combine, and now he's probably Steelers second-round neighborhood, Okay, I guess that's a faller, but I wouldn't crush him for that.
I wouldn't either. And like 4.61, I know that's not great, but that's.
But if it's a 4.59, people aren't saying anything. You know what I mean?
Exactly
like it's so dumb.
Exactly right.
He'll go to Notre Dame's pro day and run a 4.57 maybe, and we won't be talking about it as much.
And then the last one, and I kind of like this, and it was not the greatest workout for him either, but that's not his game. Lee Hunter, the defensive lineman out of Texas Tech.
Horrible jumps, but he's a nose tackle.
Yeah,
right. Like, he's not super explosive and twitchy off the snap, but that's not really his job description.
It's not. And, hey, if he wants to hang around and be an option for the Steelers there at 53, I wouldn't be against it.
Tape's good. He has a little bit of pass rush to him. Senior Bowl's good.
McShay says he still has him as a top 50 prospect. He's just moved him down, closer to 50 than he was before.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's fair.
And then for McShay, two toughest players to evaluate and rank. One of them, another name we've discussed plenty of times, the big boy from Florida, defensive lineman Caleb Banks, who has freakish traits and freakish size, but only played 3 games last year because of the foot injury. And then Cassius Howe, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M, who's another one of those guys who just looks the part, but his arms are a little short and, doesn't have the best measurements.
Real quick. Like, I would imagine through Todd's eyes, like, should I push him up to, like, 8th overall? Like, is this guy a superstar? But, boy, I need a little more to back me up to do that.
Sure.
Or even in Dane's 2-round mock, he fell well out of round 1.
Yeah.
I can see why there's differing opinions.
He went to the Ravens at like 47, 45 or something
pretty
like
well
that.
Into the second round.
Yeah.
But I just look at him and be like, he's so rare. I mean, there are just not many body types in the league, let alone on the planet like him. Howe is a really strange eval because I'm not sure anybody in this draft or many in recent memory are better at bending that shoulder and getting low. There's sacks that they don't even touch him because he's so low and so fast bending that edge. But he's little.
He's got the tiny arms.
I mean, tiny, tiny arms. Like, people were talking about Bain's arms. His are shorter. There's nobody in the league. I don't even think there's an edge rusher drafted in like 20 years with his short of arms. And he doesn't even really use them because in the run game, he just gets steamrolled. And in the pass game, he just kind of doesn't get taught. He runs right under the table.
Arm measurements didn't become an official thing until 2003.
Okay.
Which, man, that sounds nuts.
It does sound kind of nuts.
So much of this stuff didn't become official scouting combine. We keep track of this.
I guess like the good scouts did it when they went into LSU or
like,
whatever.
Yeah, like Bill Nunn. Bill Nunn, I'm sure, had it all in his notebook.
But some teams didn't.
It wasn't collectively kept record-wise by the league until 2003. If he's drafted in the first round, it will be the shortest arms of any edge rusher drafted in the first round since they started keeping track of that in 2003.
It might even be the whole draft.
Crazy.
Yeah, but He is a designated pass rusher. He's one of those dudes that's only out there in specialty situations, and some of his pass rush reps are unbelievably good. Like just set people up and getting low and exploding off the edge where he doesn't even really use his arms.
So here's what we're going to do. That's the first hour in the books. A fun exercise to start hour number 2. We're going to keep track of this. Matt and I are going to go through the big board here, and we're going to see how many prospects we each come up with that right here, today, Thursday, March 5th, Matt and I would sign and trade the Steelers' 21st pick for right now. Let me say that again because I really word saladed sloppily that. Who would we trade the Steelers' 21st overall pick, first-round pick for right now? Matt and I will discuss. We'll compile our list to kick off hour number 2. Uhler, Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 here of The Drive on this Thursday, March 5th, 2026. And Matt, we have a fun exercise. This is, I think, something we'll probably do again post-free agency.
Yeah, it makes sense.
When
team needs will be a little more defined.
Team needs will be a little more defined, and maybe some of these guys that we're really interested in now, if you go out and you nab someone in free agency, it knocks that down the list of priorities. But we'll have a bunch of different draft exercises that we are going to do between now and the end of April. We'll have mock drafts.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have what I can't wait for, what we'll probably start doing once a week after free agency. The Steelers are on the clock at pick 1. Who you taking? Then they're on the clock at pick 2.
It's harder than you think.
It's harder than you think,
Right.
but it's a lot of fun.
It is.
So we'll have a bunch of those exercises, and the one of them that we'll do a few times between now and the end of April that we're going to do for the first time today is the prospects you would trade right now or you would trade pick 21 for right now. So, for example, I don't think that this is going to surprise anybody, but I'm sure both of us would give up the Steelers' 21st overall pick right now, sign in blood, for Fernando Mendoza.
Of course. So, I have not given this much thought, but I will say, handle it however you want.
Well, you'll be proud of me because yesterday you were like, let's not make any lists ahead of time. Let's just do it
talk
live.
Through it and,
Last night, I'm down in the basement and I'm doing my weird world of Matt Williamson. I'm thinking too much about football while I, by the way, watched the finale of Night of the Seven Kingdoms last night.
Oh, fun, huh?
Awesome.
I love the whole series.
It's just 6 episodes. They're all like 30, 40 minutes long.
Yep.
It's Game of Thrones, but it's not crazy difficult to follow like Game of Thrones.
No, right. There's not that many characters. And
it's funny. Like
it's actually pretty
each episode, there's like one or two like gut-busting funny jokes or moments.
Oh, yeah.
Highly recommend Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I was a fan.
So as I finished that last night, and it's that time of night where I'm like, do I start a new show or something? I really only want to stay up for another 20, 30 minutes. I start thinking about this exercise. I was literally like pulling up my phone to do the notes app, and I was like, you know what? No, let's do it live tomorrow.
Don't look ahead.
I'm going to save it for Matt. So what I want to do here is we'll roll through these names, and we'll see. There'll be a point that we'll get to on this big board that we'll clearly go, okay,
we're done.
We're done. But I want to see how many we're both yes on, the ones that we differ. And then when we revisit that in a couple weeks, like, hey, we had 9 or 10 guys that we were yes on. We each had 1 or 2 where we were different, where you said yes, I said yes, vice versa. And then we can kind of keep tabs on this, a few weeks from now, check in, see how it's changed, all those different things, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to preface it by how I look at it. Look at it however you want.
Sure.
Like you mentioned Styles. Like the answer for Styles is yes, but there's going to be and then I am shopping Patrick Queen. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If I traded 21 for Styles right now I'm going to then do other things.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
Because it's not just like, okay, we're just going to live with it. And I'll be honest, my bet is, particularly in this draft, that I don't think I'm going to trade 21 as willy-nilly as you might think. It's just such an important draft. Any first round pick is just so important in this league. For me to throw that away in early March, when some team might call and be like, we can't get Justin Jefferson signed. We need your first this year and next year. Like, but I don't have a first. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, it's not going to be easy for me to give it up.
Okay.
So if I'm on the fence, I'm probably just going to keep the pick.
Okay.
Because I do think people are going to fall to them in this draft more than we might think.
Okay.
Receivers. And
I feel like then I might be a little more liberal
Cool.
with my list than you are.
Totally
but I
get it.
like you have to explain what goes with it. So, like, for example, Fernando Mendoza, yes.
Boom.
I'm
probably wouldn't call Rodgers
I'm
back.
calling up Aaron Rodgers and I'm saying, hey, all that hanky-panky that you were talking about with your wife on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, you got plenty of free time to hanky-panky. We're going with the young rookie out of Indiana.
Or I would be like, do you want to come mentor the young rookie out of Indiana? And we're trading Rudolph or, But I'm definitely not in on Willis or anybody else. You just take them in. That one's the easiest one of all.
That's the
you
easiest.
just take a franchise quarterback for a first-round pick, right?
Yes. So I'm going to go through here. And I have McShay's big board up here,
Okay.
so we'll do this in his order. This isn't necessarily our order, but it's very, he's got Jeremiah Love as his number one prospect. Some others have Sonny Styles, some have Caleb Downs, but he starts with Jeremiah Love, number one.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not like trading Warren or anything. I'm just adding them to the offense.
And I would thank Kenneth Gainwell for his service.
Yeah, well, I'm done then, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, it would really screw up Omar's plans, I'm sure.
Totally.
Because
I don't love the idea of taking a running back in the first round.
No, but eventually there's a breaking point where he's too good and you just say yes.
He's one of the 2 or 3
that would catch the ball so well.
We need to have this conversation at some point. Maybe we can do this in the next segment. You're chipped down on one person from this class to make Canton in 15 years.
He'd be a strong candidate.
It's probably him or one of the Ohio State guys.
Yeah, one of the Ohio State defenders, yeah.
So we're both yes on Jeremiah Love.
Yeah. Now, there are going to be a bunch of edge guys that we're going to talk about. And I know he just kind of talked out of 2 sides of my mouth. I'm like, I'll take Styles, trade Queen. But I'm not going to just take every edge guy and trade Herbig and Watt. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to stick with where I'm at.
Arvell Reese and David Bailey are very interesting conversations to me in this regard.
And Bailey's a no and Reese is a yes. And I know Reese isn't super excited about it. But I mean, you're playing linebacker
for a year or 2.
Yeah, and you're going to moonlight as an edge rusher, and I'll blitz you and all those things. I know it doesn't make you thrilled. Maybe we will trade TJ in a year or can't get a deal done with Herbig. But I'd probably trade Queen then after that too. And I like Queen a lot. It's not like he's just a disposable piece. But if you get one of these luxury guys like a Love or a Reese or one of those type of dudes, well, you got to open up some resources too to get the things you really need because these are wants, these aren't needs.
That's why I think you're right.
Really
Reese is a different conversation because you could play him off ball and do some different things
something
with him.
else with him.
Whereas, man, like David Bailey, you're never going to be in a position to get somebody that talented at pick 21, but he would maybe be your 4th guy at edge rusher.
Right. I mean, okay, maybe you do move Highsmith or something, but it's I don't know how. I mean, I'm not giving up a premium pick that could have been my number 1 receiver for that.
Okay, so we're both yes on Jeremiah Love. We're both yes on Mendoza.
Yeah.
Sonny Styles.
Yes, because he's that good too.
I think.
But he's the kind of the border. You better be a great prospect, a blue chip prospect, and I think Styles is. And if Queen wasn't up after this year, maybe I wouldn't. If this was a year ago and you just signed him, I've never seen him play.
Or if Peyton Wilson just came off of an outstanding season.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there thinking Styles might be my Lambert for 12 years. You know what I mean? And
he might be Ryan Shazier all over again.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have much invested in terms of money at linebacker. So he's a yes. But if he was a 10% less product, I'd probably say no. You better be pretty special at a position like that.
So we have Love, we have Mendoza, we have Styles. Caleb Downs.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
I think so. So those 4.
I mean, that's a need. He'd be your starter. Right now they don't have a starting safety unless you think it's Ramsey.
Maybe Styles is different because you could just argue with me the value of the position, but I feel like those 4 are pretty chalky, pretty easy yeses. Love, Styles, Downs, Mendoza.
They're just great players.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we agree on
especially
those.
Downs and Mendoza. I mean, they're the 2 positions. I mean, they're 2 of their
and they're 2 positions. Exactly
right.
Arvell Reese. We both yes on him.
Yeah, I think he's good enough that he.
Same.
Yeah.
And you could do different stuff with him.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the top 5 on McShay's big board. Number 6 is David Bailey. I'm tempted, but I'm out. I'm out because it's just I don't need.
It gets
4.
too complicated, and I don't need
much.
4 edge rushers at the moment.
Exactly right.
And I don't think he's a tremendous prospect. If he was Nick Bosa coming out, you might convince me. You know what I mean?
Number 7 on. So far we're 6 yeses and 1 no.
Yeah.
Number 7 on McShay's big board is Vega Ione, guard out of Penn State.
He may actually be there. Would you take it right this minute? We picked him in the first round of a mock recently.
We did.
Kind of warming up to the idea. I do think he is one of the top 10 players in this draft.
That's why it's so hard for me to pass up.
Yeah.
Because, again, I know for right now and for all your needs and that, but
I think I'm doing it.
I know that you have to be careful when you do these hypothetical things because I know that this is not how the Steelers think.
Right.
But like for an exercise like this, I want the best players possible. I'll figure out positional value and how it fits into my. If I can get a guy who might be the 7th best player in the draft with my 21st pick,
I know. Like maybe it's not the best way to build a puzzle.
It's not
Drafting a guard in round 1.
It's definitely not.
Maybe the best way is giving Isaac a little raise, drafting one in the 3rd round. Maybe he takes over. But I really like this player.
Same.
And I just think what the line could be, 4/5 of it are set.
He's top 10, top 12 on everybody's big board.
Yeah.
Everybody's big board. I think that's a yes for me.
I think that's a yes for me, too.
Now, this is one that could very easily change next week because if they bring back, say, Malu or they bring back somebody else, then you're done. Okay, so far, 6 yeses, 1 no for David Bailey. Number 8 on his big board, Ruben Bain Jr. out of Miami. That's a no.
That's a no.
Number 9, Francis Maui Goa, tackle out of Miami.
Yes. Because I'm playing him at left guard.
That's my
and we just had this conversation, and maybe he's my left tackle.
Maybe he's your left tackle. Worst case scenario, he's a very good guard. I think I would with him.
I think I would too.
I think those are probably going to be the only 2 offensive linemen I would say yes for.
I was going to say, like, I don't know about like Freeling and Fanu and some of those guys. Like left tackle is going to be a need, but it might not be a need for at least a year, if not longer. And they're not Walter Jones or Ogden, you know what I mean?
And I think he could do like Zach Martin type stuff at guard and be one of the best.
The Miami dude.
Yeah, Maui Goa. If worst case scenario, if he plays left guard for you, he might be an all-pro.
He might be as good a guard as Vega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cardinal Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State.
Yes.
That one to me is, I think,
he's my receiver 1. I just put my list in. He's my receiver 1.
It's Lemon 2 or Tyson 2?
Boston
2.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
Look at the curveball from Matt Williamson. Okay, so Cardinal Tate is a yes. So through 10 here on the big board, we have 8 yeses and 2 nos. The only nos being, only nos being David Bailey and Ruben Bain Jr., the true edge rushers.
True edge guys, yeah.
Number 11, Mansour Delane.
No.
I don't think so.
I think I'm going to patch my cornerback together a little differently.
And a little too much uncertainty there for me.
Yeah. If that was Jalen Ramsey coming out, sure, but
I'm with you on that. Wide receiver number 2, Mekhi Lemon.
I know everyone's going to say yes. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. I just think, what if Vega's there at 21 or one of these guys we brought up and I can't take him because I took Lemon? Like, there's a chance that Lemon's on the board at 21 and he's not your first choice even.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I don't want to have to take the 3rd guy on my board at 21 because he might be there. That's just kind of my logic with him.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And for me, I think he's a very good player. He could very well be the best wide receiver of this draft.
Yep.
And if the Steelers take him at pick 21, I'm not going to be in the least bit upset.
I might be thrilled.
But I think he's a little more scheme specific than some of these other wide receivers.
I do think he fits McCarthy well.
I do think he does fit. I think he fits his 11 personnel that we're going to live in with 3 wide receiver on the field. I do think he's a fit for the Steelers, but for the long term, you know what I mean?
10 days from now, I might be like, yes, I will do it.
Sure.
Because Siamalu's signed, a corner signed. That's probably the best receiver
but no wide receiver.
Right.
13, Monroe Feeling out of Georgia.
Is it Feeling or Freeling?
Or sorry, Freeling.
Okay, I've been saying FR,
no, it's Freeling.
You've been
You're
saying
right.
FE, and
no,
I didn't know who's right.
It's Freeling. I keep messing that up.
But I like them, and left tackles are really, really valuable, and you should probably never turn your nose up at a left tackle because you might be like, Cook's not as good as I thought, and Jones' neck is bad, and we really need one, but I'm not going to just give you 21 for him right now.
Not right now.
No.
Might change my opinion on that in another week or two, certainly.
Maybe.
If they're not that active in the offensive line market and free agency. 14 on this list, Spencer Fanu, tackle/guard.
Same thing, but I don't know that he'll be as good a guard as the Miami dude.
You
know what I mean?
That's the only thing for me.
Right.
I think Fanu is a good pro prospect. I would rather go Maui Goa if I'm going to bump one into guard.
Yes.
And I'll wait and see how that one plays out.
Yeah.
Okay, so far we're through 14, no disagreements. 15, Jordan Tyson, wide receiver from Arizona State.
No, because his medicals might be bad.
So that's the kicker for me.
Yeah, I so know. I put him 4th on my receiver list. I'm saying, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I wish I knew more about your medicals.
Because it's almost for him, it's almost like an incomplete for me. Because if I knew that his medical stuff was green light, he would absolutely be a yes for me. But I understand you get what I'm saying? But we're not going to know that until we see where he gets drafted in late April and can kind of read the tea leaves.
Yeah, we may leave the South Side Thursday night and he's not picked, and we're like, I'm glad I didn't give up 21 for him.
Exactly right. Or he might go pick 13, and we're like, well, the medical stuff was fine then.
Should have given up 21 for him.
So that one's almost like an incomplete. That's like a tough, but as I sit here now, I can't say yes. If I knew the medical stuff and it was clear, it's an easy yes.
Sure.
But I can't say yes as much as I do.
And if we had as much knowledge as the NFL does, we probably would know that decision.
Yes.
We just are never going to.
Correct. 16, tight end 1, Kenyon Sadiq.
No, but I respect it and I understand it.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. It's tough. It's just tough because of what you have there already and what, that position. I don't even know if devalued is the right term, but maybe not as crucial of the element of the offense now with Arthur Smith gone.
I would probably shop Freiermuth if I did it, and that's appealing.
It's not a terrible idea,
right?
But
that's going to get you a 3rd-round pick or something. I'm still not going to be able to fill my number 1 need on draft day.
Let's see here. 17, Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington.
No, and I like him a ton, but it's the same conversation. Like, he might be there, and
interesting. I thought he would have been a yes for you, but that's interesting. I like it just because when you told me he was wide receiver 2 for you.
Yeah, I really, really like him. He's 6'4", and he can return punts, and he does a lot of really good things. It's hard for me to give up number 21 right this minute.
18. I think this is an easy no. Keldrick Falk, edge rusher out of Auburn.
Easy
no.
He wouldn't be 18 on my board either.
Are there any other wide receivers we're going to say yes for? Probably not.
No.
Omari Cooper Jr., he's number 19 on McShay's big board.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Concepcion's a no.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If either one was a 1st-round pick, I'm not saying I would disapprove.
20th overall on his big board. And a need. Safety, Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon.
Maybe, because I love him. But what hurts Thieneman in this conversation to me is I can give you 6 free agents that I can get it, I think, at a reasonable level. They're coming off their first contract, and it's a really deep safety draft. And I also don't know what Patrick Graham – does he need the best pair of safeties in the league? He's never had anything close. I bet he can make do with a decent free agent signing and a 3rd-round pick and use the pick somewhere else.
Sure.
But there absolutely could be the case on draft day where I'm like, I'll give you 21 and one of the 3rd-round picks to move up for Thieneman. But today I can't concede the pick. But I get the idea. It's kind of the down situation. You just plug them in, and now I just use I don't sign a safety.
Right. I think this is one that we could have a clear yes or no in another week or so.
Yeah.
And then, Matt, after that, I don't know if there's really any people that are even worth, Blake Miller out of Clemson, Peter Woods out of Clemson, Jermard McCoy.
What about Banks?
He's the only other one that I would think. But
I got to go no at this point.
McShay has him 33rd overall on his big board.
It's also the latest taste in my mouth is Dane, who's definitely dialed in, had him going into the second round. I'm like, I don't think I give you 21 for that.
Cannot. I mean, Concepcion, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Ty Simpson, but no.
How about McCoy? No. His medicals might be worse than
exactly
Tyson's,
right. Exactly right.
Simpson's a no.
Caleb Lomu's a no, as much as I like him. Colton Hood, no. Maxie and H.O.R., no. I mean, I like all these guys, but I'm not giving up 21. I'd give up 53 for a lot of these guys right now.
That could be a fun exercise, too, but it'd be a long list.
That would be a longer list.
I don't think there's anybody you mentioned that I wouldn't give 53 up for. Even like the David Baileys and Baines and those guys. Yeah, right.
For sure. Because they're just such good prospects at that value. You can't pass it up on. Would you give 53 for Ty Simpson right now?
No.
I don't think I would either.
I may eat those words because I do think he's got a really good chance to be a starter and have a good career. I just want better than good starter and good career.
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
I want to go. I don't want to go shopping at Toyota and Honda for my franchise quarterback.
No.
I want to go to Mercedes-Benz and Porsche and BMW. And
if I have to save up a year to go shopping in those,
fine.
I'll save up for a year. Right.
I'll pinch pennies for a year.
Right. Eat ramen noodles.
I imagine for the 53 conversation, would you say yes to a lot of these defensive linemen at 53? Like Banks at 53?
For sure.
Lee Hunter at 53? Caden McDonald at 53?
Hunter, just noses are hard for me to invest in.
Yeah.
The others, yeah.
A lot of these wide receivers, obviously, at 53.
A lot.
Yeah.
Probably could go 8 to 10 deep on receiver.
I would think so. That's a fun exercise.
It
so
is.
we both had yeses on Love, Styles, Downs, Mendoza, Reese, Vega, Maui Goa, and Tate. We're both maybes on Dylan Theneman. We're going to wait and see how free agency goes. And then I'm going to keep
He's worth it.
I'm going to keep a maybe for medical reasons on Jordan Tyson. I don't think that that's going to change because we're not going to get any new information.
Probably not.
But
like Tyson and McCoy might work out at the pro day and be like, oh, I guess they're fine. That could happen a month from now.
Yes.
You know.
And then maybe I'll change my answer to a yes for Jordan Tyson, who I love that guy's tape. It's so much. He is so much fun to watch. That was a fun exercise, something that we'll kind of keep tabs on and continue to do as we roll along throughout the offseason. We've got to get to a break, more draft, more big board, more free agency conversation when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back in the booth, back on the drive here. We will get to your tweets to close this thing down in just a few minutes, so get those in while you can at Williamson NFL. That's where you find Matt. At Wesley Uhler on the X Twitter. Matt, an article by Ben Solak caught my eye on NFL.com. Kind of 9 key questions ahead of free agency. And some of these are topics that we've discussed plenty over the last 2 weeks, but some of these are newer and kind of different angles. So I figured we'll run through these. And for example, the first one is, where will Kyler Murray land? Obviously, we've talked about that a little bit. It feels like Minnesota, New York, Miami.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of dark horse that we haven't mentioned? Falcons.
Cleveland.
Cleveland's an interesting one.
I look at Cleveland, Miami, and the Jets, but I also think when you mention that he really doesn't cost anything against your cap, why would he go there? I mean, like, it might be the point where, like, oh, they're thrilled to get him. Not that the Jets don't have money, but, like, Miami doesn't have money. Cleveland doesn't have any money. That's the best player we can get for the no. We don't have any money in our pocket, and that's the best player we can get. But I would rather do just about anything than go to those two teams if I'm him. I think he's more marketable than that.
I do, too. And for him, a lot of it is, like, hey, do I want to just go somewhere where I know I'm going to be the starter and it's going to be my quarterback room? Do I want to go and do the quarterback rehab thing for a year? You know,
I don't know that he's bottomed out to that point.
I don't think so.
Either.
And he's only 28 years old.
And I understand why people are linking him to the Steelers, too. Like, I think the Steelers at least have to have that conversation. I just don't think it's the fit.
No, it's just it would be
Minnesota
underwhelming.
to me is probably the most obvious. I mean, if he didn't burn the bridge, a team like Arizona would make sense. You know what I mean? Like, if he was coming from the Jets in the same situation,
like, hey, come on, Arizona.
Go to Arizona. Right. There's someone we're missing. Like
Indianapolis?
I was going to say the Colts. Like, maybe the Colts should have not transitioned Daniel Jones and just give Kyler $1 million as opposed to giving Daniel Jones $28 million or whatever. Because the thing about Jones that we didn't mention the other day when we did the franchise tag talk is, ask Aaron Rodgers. I mean, every quarterback the year after their Achilles stinks.
Right.
It's tough. I mean, it's really hard.
And Aaron Rodgers had his in the first game of the season.
And Rodgers' first month with the Jets was brutal. Then he got better and better and better.
Daniel Jones was after Halloween.
Right. Like, the chances of him being mobile and I don't know, man.
I tell you what,
I'd rather roll the dice with Kyler for $1 million.
No, Cleveland's a good call by you because, you know, Monken seeing that and being like, I can do Lamar type things with his skill set.
Draft around him. Maybe we found our guy.
Question number 2. Are the Vikings in or out on 2026? They don't have a general manager. They got a lot of quarterback questions.
They're dumping a lot of contracts.
Dumping a lot of contracts, but, you know, they still have guys like Justin Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw, Byron Murphy Jr., they are a team that
they'd have to hit on Kyler or somebody like that, you know. the light just turns on, and we just said we haven't seen enough, and he's better than we thought.
Sure.
But boy, the divisions, everyone's going to pick him fourth.
That's also, the division is just brutal.
I don't like the way that's phrased. I think Ben Solak does great work, by the way, too. But they in on 2025 or 2026. I don't think they're pushing all their chips in to win it all now. Like, this is our last chance. But it goes without saying.
But are they looking at it as a reset year?
I think it's probably a reset year,
I think so, too. Unless J.J. McCarthy ends up being a guy.
Yeah. Now, Jefferson's the one that gets – you don't want to waste another Jefferson year or
totally
make him angry and say, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
We won 14 games 2 years ago. Then just fell apart. Trade me somewhere.
Question number 3, will offensive line spending go bananas?
I think the answer is always yes.
The first truth, there's a lot of money in the league right now. The second truth, it's not an amazing free agent class, but has impressive depth.
Tackles are terrible. There's like 1 or 2 starting tackles that'll get more than Dan Moore money.
He talks about Tyler Linderbaum being a big part of this.
He'll get overpaid,
and
but
he's going to get a bunch of money. And then just a lot of other, talented options at guard and tackle. Not as much at tackle, more so at guard. I think the answer to that is an obvious yes, because the answer is always yes.
I think the always
offensive line is one of those positions. If you hit the free agent market, like Dan Moore Jr. Dan Moore Jr. is one of the best 32 left tackles in the world, but he's getting paid like a top 10.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a terrible place to shop. But even like, I was slightly critical of the Steelers for not drafting an offensive lineman last year.
Yes.
But it totally added up because they drafted so many the 2 years before
and
that.
Didn't have a second round pick. Yeah.
But even just really paying attention to that draft through that light as it was happening in real time, every offensive lineman went at least a round earlier than they should have. I mean, a major tax on them.
That happens a lot, too.
I have to say, I sit here in February and March and be like, if I'm the Steelers, I'm drafting 2 offensive linemen. Well, that means you're drafting a 7th rounder in the 5th. So the draft is actually more interesting to me in this conversation than the free agent offensive lineman. Because you don't want to be in the free agent offensive lineman. The only way to do it is get them in the draft.
Right.
You got to overspend there.
Right. Pick your poison.
Mm-hmm.
Which players will the Seattle Seahawks prioritize? A lot of free agents. Kenneth Walker, Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen, Josh Jobe, Rashid Shaheed, Boye Mafe.
Well, I think what they're really going to prioritize, which is a different way of looking at it, is extending Smith and Jigba
and Witherspoon.
And Witherspoon.
Which would probably free up some cap space for this year in the process.
And then maybe you can make the next move at that point, too. Like, all those names you mentioned are fine. They helped them win the whole thing. But I bet their head coach / defensive coordinators, they're all replaceable, too. I can coach these guys up. I can't coach up Byron Murphy and Witherspoon and my
and JSN. Yeah.
The safety they just drafted. And, those are all spokes in the wheel. But I'm going to pay the big dogs and coach up the other guys.
Free agency question number 5. How will the running back dust settle? Breece Hall now is being tagged, but you have Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker, Rico Dowdle, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Tyler Algier, J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Gainwell. It's not quite that 2024 class.
It's not super interesting
Saquon
either.
and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, but there's a lot of guys in there who can play and certainly have value.
Walker's the one everyone's going to have an eye on.
Absolutely.
Which worries me a little because he really doesn't contribute in the passing game at all. I mean, he's bad in protection and he's a bad receiver. So someone might overpay for him. I bet the Steelers are part of this, though. I don't know that you can go into the draft saying I could just have Johnson and Warren.
I don't think you can.
I think that's nuts. You better sign one of those names you just mentioned.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Which edge rusher is the right edge rusher? Trey Hendrickson, 31 years old. Odafe Owe, 27 years old. Jalen Phillips doesn't turn 27 until May.
Which is crazy. He's been in the league a long time.
I was going to say, man, I would have thought he was pushing 30.
I think Owe is finally starting to really grow into his paws. Hendrickson worries me a little that his best year was probably 2 years ago. Yeah. I mean, he had
19 sacks and led the league.
He probably won't do that again. He's probably a 14-sack, 13-sack guy. And he was never an elite athlete. I think if I was paying what all of them cost, it would be Phillips. He's really good already, and he's only 27.
He's not. He'll be 27 in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I was investing in any of the
Same.
three,
Same.
it's sticker price.
Where will Malik Willis land?
I think it's going to be Arizona.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
He's
He's been linked to the Dolphins because all the Green Bay connections now, but they don't have any money.
They got no money, and whenever they get rid of Tua, they're going to have less money in
not more.
in a cruel twist.
If I were him, I'd rather do that than the Browns or Dolphins or Jets.
Will the rise of the off-ball linebacker market keep up? Last year, Fred Warner, Zach Baun, Nick Bolton all got pretty sizable deals. I don't think any of these guys are those guys, but man, Devin Lloyd.
Lloyd will get paid handsomely.
Yes.
Then I don't know that that's going to be.
What happens with Tremaine Edmonds if he becomes a free
when
agent?
He becomes out there.
There's
just more options in this draft class too.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's.
You do have guys like Devin Bush and Leo Chenal and Nakobe Dean who are coming off.
Well.
Yeah.
Lloyd will get paid top of the market stuff. Could be the
Yes.
highest paid linebacker and said and done.
Yes.
But I can take Rodriguez in the second round. You know what I mean?
It's a
There's a lot of
intriguing second and third round linebackers in this year's draft for sure. Last one, Matt, and this is something that we've been asking for a long time. In fact, we just talked about it in the first hour of the show. What will the Eagles do with A.J. Brown?
I think they'll eventually move him.
I do too.
But I think the money's way more complicated than anybody is just implying. It might have to be like an after June 1st weird type of thing.
That was going to be my. Do you think he gets traded before or after the draft? I think the Eagles would like to move him before the draft.
Yeah, I don't
obviously.
think they want picks for next year.
But I don't. That's going to be tough to make work in the confines of their tight salary cap and just all the bonus money and dead money and everything that's involved with a contract like his.
Yeah, and I do think they love Devontae Smith and want to give him a bigger role, and I understand that. But I'm going to say Brown does not play for the Eagles this year. But that's kind of like
60-40?
Yeah, I'd say give or take, yeah.
I definitely would say it's more likely, but that's not a best bet that I want to place either way.
And it could get ugly. He might be like, I'm holding out, or sitting in, or whatever.
You think he'll be doing like T.O.? You think he'll be doing
reading a book?
He'll be doing sit-ups in his driveway while all the all the Philadelphia media is assembled around. He'll pull the weight bench out into the front of his mansion and
just start working out.
Sit there doing sit-ups and answering questions. That's still one of the most the funniest, like bizarre. T.O. and his standoff with the Eagles just brings his weight equipment out into his driveway, and the media's interviewing him while he's doing sit-ups and crunches and ab workouts. Oh, man, good stuff from a different time. We've got one more segment to go. You know what that means. We'll close things down with your tweets. You know where to get at us if you want to get involved. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment of The Drive here on this Thursday. About to put a bow on another award-winning edition of The Drive here.
Killing it.
Absolutely, baby. Throughout the offseason, no sleep, no rest for the wicked. We rock and we roll into free agency. I
things would slow down a little when the season ends. Not even a little.
No. not even a little bit.
No. I got like one fewer show a day in my life, but that's about it.
You make a head coaching change for the first time in 19 years. You host an NFL draft.
All that stuff, right?
All that stuff. And, you've got...
Not complaining, but it's not like, we're just put your feet up and go get your eyes checked or go to the dentist, things like that. I haven't done any of that stuff forever.
It is. I was laughing with my wife. Like, when I first started with SNR, we would all, like, do shows through the combine. And then it would slow down like
heavily.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like I think you and Dale would do 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. Moats and I would do 2 days a week.
And that was about it.
And I would always say to my wife, like, this is maybe a little too light. Like I want to do a little bit more.
Yeah. Like it was easy to do 3 days a week.
Yes. Right. 2 days a week. I was like, we could be doing a little bit more and I could be making a little bit more money,
Yeah.
But now it's like, I'm not complaining.
I'm certainly not complaining.
I like the money and the work and everything, but I'm like,
a random Wednesday could go a long way. I mean, like my oils need to change forever.
Well, how about this? How about Thursday, March 26th? Does that sound good to you?
Okay.
As a random day to take off?
Okay.
Because I'm going to be in Chicago with my dad going to the Cubs opener on that day.
All right, I'll schedule like all my stuff.
3 weeks from today, schedule all your stuff because Wes is going to be at Wrigley Field with his Chicago dad.
Eye, oil, haircut.
I told you this plan, but I'm sure our listeners will love hearing it.
No, I love it.
My dad is from Chicago, born and raised. Now he's been in Pittsburgh for almost 40 years. He got his first job here with the Symphony when he was 23. He's now 61. So, yeah, he's been here for like 38, 39 years.
I didn't realize it was that long, but wow.
He has been converted. He loves he still roots for the Bears, but he's a bigger Steelers fan. Still roots for the Blackhawks, but he's a bigger Penguins fan.
Yeah.
But
obviously the Bulls are.
But still, the Bulls,
right.
The Bulls and the Cubs are like in 2016. I was living in Philadelphia when the Cubs finally won the World Series in like the 108-year streak. I FaceTime my dad and he's crying like a baby. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so he has always wanted to take me to Wrigley Field for a Cubs game. We've never been able to work it out because of like me working in sports and the schedule and the timing and
he's retired now.
And he's retired now. You know, he was in the Symphony. And so we are going to the Cubs home opener Thursday, March 26th. We're flying out of Pittsburgh in the morning. His like best buds are picking us up. The four of us are going to the game. We're going to dinner and we're flying home.
Same night.
All in one day.
That's crazy.
He called me like 2 weeks ago and was like, "Do you think we got tickets? Do you think we can make this work?" I was like, "Pops,
however you got to do it."
He was like, "I'll pay for everything." He's like, "I just want you to go with." He's like, "I got the flights. My buddy's got the tickets. Like, I just want you to be there with us." And I was like, "Pops, we'll make it happen. Let's do it."
That's cool.
So March 26th, I'll be taking a maintenance day. I'll be taking a Veterans Day.
Right. I guess I should make an eye appointment for March 26th.
You got 3 weeks out to let you know because Wes will be with the in Wrigleyville and I don't know, not I don't know, whatever famous food Chicago dogs. That's
whatever
what I was looking for. I was wanting to say Dodger dogs for a second. I was like, that's not right. That's L.A.
The beef is in there in Chicago too.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah. They've got some good food options there in the Windy City for sure. Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
Maybe the best show on TV.
I thought so. Yeah.
We
were talking Game of Thrones earlier.
Of all like the current right now shows,
it might be number one for me.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Matt, Jordan Schultz, of course, NFL Insider reporting. Much kind of what you alluded to in the first hour of the show, that the trade market for Max Crosby is heating up. Teams have gotten the sense that the Raiders are ready to make the move, and it's a situation that, quote, is only going to intensify.
Okay. Now, I don't think it's only the Bears.
Same.
I think the Patriots could make a ton of sense. I've heard the Eagles, but I don't know how that works with their money, but they always make it work. When we were talking about A.J. Brown, I'm like, could A.J. Brown go to the Raiders and Max and, something happens there?
What about someone like the Bills, like just pushing all their chips in?
I don't know if they could do it after DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday you might have convinced me because I just know they're up against it cap-wise. I look at like the Lions that might be slipping.
Lions is a good one.
They're starting to go backwards a little. Like, can we just make a big move to get us back on top? I'm sure. I mean, there's like the Bucks of the world that could definitely use them. I mean, it's not hard to come up with teams. I just don't know who makes a ton of sense. But I do think he moves soon.
I concur.
It just feels that way.
It certainly
it's
feels
such a big contract. You'd like to know these things before the league year starts.
Before free agency and the draft and all that stuff. Let's see here. Let's get to some tweets as we close this thing down. T-Mac tweets us and says, "Where are we on the Brian Thomas Jr. trade train? What would you be willing to give up? I like Ayuk, but coming off major injury, off-field issues, I think parlaying him might be bad for the nest."
I get that. I understand the immense amount of variance with an Ayuk move.
Yes.
I'm not even saying risk because I don't think it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. We're trading for him a year or two would have been way more. I love Brian Thomas. I'm a big fan. Love. Not as much as Caleb Williams loved taking sacks last year, but I worry a little. I'd give you a second. I mean, because he's young, cost controlled, all that stuff's wonderful. You're still allowed to pick up his fifth-year option, and he's probably as good an option as you can get. I mean, I think he's an equal prospect as anyone coming out in the draft, give or take, a little more refined. My only but is the McCarthy offense. We talked a lot about this with like Nate Tice and people at the combine. Thomas is not an instant get open guy. He's kind of a long build up, beat you over the top. Kind of got that guy, but that would be an awesome Twin Towers on the side with Wan'Dale Robinson or somebody doing the little stuff. But I don't know that he's going to beat you on the quick slant over and over and over to death with, initial quickness. So stylistically, he's not my favorite, but an opportunity to get someone that talented at this stage of his career, a one's off the table. But more or less a two.
Anything else you'd listen?
Yeah. I mean, certainly like 2 3s.
Third this year and a fourth next year. Or do you want
They
to
wouldn't do that.
You just want to do it.
I
get
don't
what you're
think they need more than that.
Corbin tweets us and says, does Mike McCarthy being an offensive-minded head coach guarantee that the Steelers' first pick will be an offensive player?
No.
No, I don't think it guarantees, but I think it shades that way. Is that a fair way to put it?
But I wouldn't phrase it because of who the head coach is. I think it's because the quarterback's coming next year. It's Nest. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a D tackle that we're convinced. Maybe they're light on corners in free agency and you grab one of those guys. Maybe it's Thiemann. But that's only like 4 names I could come up with that are possible on defense, where I got
10 on offense.
12 or 10. Or, 2 or 3 O-linemen.
2 or 3 wide receivers.
Several, yeah.
Even more.
Yes. And maybe we couldn't get to 10, but I know what you're saying. But I think it's just more important to build a young nest for the quarterback next year than it is to – I'd love to get young and talented on defense too, but I just think the offense needs more work for big picture.
I agree. And we all know they got to add some wide receivers.
For sure.
But with how deep this class is, they could go a different direction with the first pick and then still address that in round 2.
Second-round receiver could be very useful.
And with one of their trio of third-round picks.
From Alabama or one of these. Yeah, right.
Jeremy. Sudesh tweets us and says, how do you feel about signing a free agent safety and still drafting one? I feel like there's solid value in both the free agency pool and the draft class.
That's my exact plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a Duggar or a Malik Hooker who's like your third guy.
Yeah.
And then you draft somebody,
I'm more like I'm signing my starter. I'm signing a starter,
and then take a third or fourth round safety, something like that.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm going to get like Cook from Kansas City, or what's his name? The dude from the Colts. Is one of my
who's
favorite.
Like 25 years old.
That's one of my favorite targets in free agency. Pay him a little more than you think he should. Have him for the next 3-4 years, and then throw a third round safety in the mix. I think that's the approach, and that's why I didn't want to give up 21 for Thiemann. Just because if you do that move, if you sign Cook or one of these other, then I don't need 3 starters there,
Last tweet of the day here to close us down on this Thursday goes to Smooth Dave, who says, hypothetical. Let's say that the Steelers land Malik Willis. Yep. How good of a year would he have to prevent you from drafting a quarterback from this class next year? I would hate to miss out on a great quarterback class and be in quarterback purgatory with a average quarterback on a nice contract. I agree with that.
It's a great question. It's a great conversation.
It is a very good hypothetical, yeah.
But it's also really one that's hard to answer. I can't give you this has to be his interception to touchdown ratio.
I think he would have to be
I don't know, like if we just did like EPA or some advanced stat. If he was top 15,
I don't know.
If you have the 5th pick in the draft and there's a great one there, I don't think you'd say no matter what. Because you could trade Willis again. Like, that was a successful year. He was good. I don't know if he's the answer. I bet I can flip him for a 3rd-round pick and draft this guy.
That's a good point. Yeah,
because he's under contract. I assume he's
if he's the 16th best quarterback in the NFL, somebody would sign up for his services.
I think my short answer would be he has to show me a lot, like
almost an All-Pro caliber
that he can become an
yes.
All-Pro. I don't need him to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, but he's striding that direction,
and he's only 26, 27.
Yeah, like Greg Cosell, as usual, had a great conversation about this. He's like, Willis only threw 200 passes or whatever. He's never thrown, or I forget how he phrased it. He said he's never thrown more than 23 passes in a game. I think that was the number. Maybe it's 21. Maybe it's 24. I don't know. And he's going to have to. My question isn't, I think he's the best running quarterback in the league right now. I think he's better than Lamar. I think he's better than Allen, all those guys. Debatable. But I don't know, can he drop back 30 times against Matthew Stafford? You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's where I need my quarterback to be. I just haven't seen it.
Totally.
There's glimpses that he can.
Yes.
But I need that question answered.
Yes.
And if he's an 18-game starter, 17-game
you
starter.
would get that question answered.
Yeah, you're going to play the Bengals once or twice in a game that's a race to 40, and can he hang with Joe? We'll see. Yeah, I'd like to find out.
That is a fun hypothetical. That's an interesting hypothetical.
Yeah.
But that will do it for us today. Thanks to everybody for the tweets. 1 or 2 there that we didn't have time to get to, but I'll bookmark them and we'll save them for tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Friday on the show. Matt, I'm not sure. I could tell you this. We'll have some more news of the day. We'll have some more trade
I'm sure things will
market
happen, yeah.
cuts and releases, and kind of the last day to tee us up before we get to that negotiating period in free agency and the bullets really flying next week. But that will do it for us for today. Thanks to Justin Miller on the ones and twos, Mr. TV, Tyler V on the video side, producing things, keeping us sharp on YouTube. And, of course, for the great Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.